राशि शुभ गुण शरणं मूक होई वाचा गिरिवर ग्रहणं जासु कृपा सुदया सर्व सकल कलिमल दहनं नील सरोरौषा तरुणारुणवाणिजनयनं करुषु मम उर्गा सदा क्षीरसागर शयनं कुन्द इन्दु समदे कुमारमन करुणायनं जाहि दिन परिणे करु कृपा मर्दनमयनं वन्दौ गुरु परकञ्ज कृपा सिन्धु नररूपहि महामोहतम पुञ्ज जासु वचन रविकर निकरा जासु वचन रविकर निकरा जासु वचन रविकर निकरा.
Sitaram, everyone. I would like to join 𝗣𝗔 𝗣𝗪𝗵 in welcoming all of our online viewers to our Mangalwar satsang, the satsang in praise of Sri Ram and Hanumanji. Devotees streaming our satsang this evening and cheering the satsang as well is 𝗣𝗔 𝗣𝗪𝗵, and he's also playing the dantal. And the other members of our Kirtan group are 𝗣𝗔 Ano Bishu, 𝗣𝗔 Krishna Prasad, and Bahin Marisa Puran. And also present with us this evening is Swami Viswanathanandaji Maharaj. In the kitchen preparing snacks for everyone present are Auntie Nanda and Bahin Priya Tribhuwan. I would like to thank everyone for making this satsang possible. Devotees, my katha this evening is taken from Lanka Kand of the Ramcharitmanas, and I've entitled it The Chariot of Sri Ram. Here Vibhishan is very worried. Why? Because an epic battle was about to begin. A battle between Sri Ram and Ravan. Ravan had entered the battle after his son Indrajit had perished, as well as his powerful brother Kumkaran. And he was intent on destroying Sri Ram's army. Now he's facing Sri Ram himself. But Vibhishan was worried because whereas Ravan had a very powerful chariot, Sri Ram was on foot. He had no chariot. In a battle, the one at the higher elevation would have the advantage. And this is what bothered Vibhishan. In this, Chaupai Tulsidas writes,
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama. नात्मरतु नहीं तन पर त्राण, कहे बिरि चितव वीर बलवान। नात्मरतु नहीं तन पर त्राण, के 𝗂𝗵𝗔𝗓𝗏 वीर बलवाना
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama
सुनहु सखा कह कृपा निधान जहि जय होई सो श्याम धनुआन सुनहु सखा कह कृपा निधान जहि जय होई सो श्याम धनुआन
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama.
Vibhishan was normally a calm, quiet person. He always spoke softly, and he was always aware of the divinity of Sri Ram. But now, being excited, being concerned for his Lord, because Ravan seemed to have the advantage, because Ravan had a chariot and Sri Ram didn't. Vibhishan temporarily forgot the divinity of Sri Ram and saw him as a warrior, another warrior. And this is something that we need to examine a bit more closely. Whenever we are overcome by extreme feelings of affection or feelings of resentment, we forget the reality we would normally perceive when we're calm. Because of his extreme affection, Vibhishan temporarily forgets whom Sri Ram is, and so he's very worried. When we are moved by emotions, Maya clouds our judgment. Another example, when Narada thought that Lord Vishnu was playing a trick on him, and when Lord Vishnu won the hand of Sri Devi, Princess Sri Devi at her Swayambar, whereas Narad did not get her hand in marriage as he had fondly hoped, he became so angry that he forgot whom Lord Vishnu is, and in his anger he hurled insults at Lord Vishnu as you would hurl insults at your enemy. Not only did he hurl insults, but he gives srap to the Lord that, seeing you've caused me so much heartache, O Vishnu, he called Lord Vishnu Kapti, that he was false, he was a false god. And the srap was that, seeing that you've hurt me so much, you will undergo the same feelings. You will have to take birth on earth as a man, and you will suffer the same love pangs that I suffer from, the pangs of separation from your beloved. And when he came to his senses and realized what he had done, he felt so embarrassed and so shocked. What did I do? He thought to himself. What was the reason for that? The reason for that was because of his anger. His anger blocked the divinity of the Lord temporarily. Maya blocked the true divinity of the Lord temporarily in Narad's eyes. And so he treated Lord Vishnu as an ordinary being. When Lord Krishna, as a young boy, when Krishna was very small, he performed so many miracles. You'd remember that when Indrade was flooding his country because Lord Krishna, the young Krishna, had told his people to worship Mount Govardhan. With his little pinky finger, Lord Krishna lifted up the mountain and shielded his people. He held the mountain like an umbrella of protection over them. Everybody knew that Krishna was an incarnation of the Lord. But when Kans invited Krishna and Balaram to the Dhanush Yajna, which he had organized in the hope of killing Krishna, the people of Vraj felt very much afraid because they said, this is advantage that Kans has put his two most powerful wrestlers, Chanur and Mushtika, to fight these two little boys. How could that be fair? The people forgot the divinity of Krishna, and in their fear, they just thought of him as a little boy. But we saw that Krishna destroyed Chanur, the powerful wrestler who did not know defeat, and Balaram defeated Mushtika, another powerful wrestler, warrior in Kansa's army. And Lord Krishna himself threw Kans to the ground and destroyed him, even though he was a little boy. So when we're overcome by emotions, we do not see things as they really are. We do not see the divinity of the Lord. Arjun, another example. He treated Lord Krishna as a friend, as a relative. He didn't show him the respect that a devotee or a disciple will show to his Lord or his Guru. He treated him in a casual way, almost like an equal to himself. So he couldn't see the divinity of Lord Krishna. But when he surrendered at the feet of Lord Krishna, asking the Lord to guide him, asking the Lord to show him the way forward, when he beheld the universal form of the Lord, he fell on the ground and he apologized. Lord, forgive me for treating you in such a casual way. You are the Lord of the world. You are without a second. There is no other like you. Lord, what did I do? Forgive me, Lord, for treating you in such a disrespectful way. So emotions, whether it is affection or resentment, they cause our mental lake to become ruffled. And when our minds are ruffled, we cannot perceive divinity as it is. That is why the aim of sadhana is to calm the mind, to make the mind like a placid lake. Only when the mind is calm under all circumstances can we constantly perceive the divinity. By the way, when Krishna was in Vraj, he saw, just to show the kindness of the Lord, he saw this old woman who was grinding chandan she had a hunchback. And because of her deformity, it was very difficult for her to grind the chandan. She was struggling so much. The Lord took compassion on her, and he went and he said, "Mother, can you put some chandan on my forehead?" And willingly, that hunchback woman, recognizing that this was no ordinary child, did that with devotion. And for doing that with devotion, she was blessed by Lord Krishna. Instantly she was healed of her deformity. And she praised the Lord, thanked the Lord so much for his kindness. So Vibhishan, overcome by affection for Sri Ram, was filled with fear for the Lord's safety, because Sri Ram was at a disadvantage. Ravan had a chariot, but Sri Ram was on the ground barefooted. Vibhishan said, "My Lord, you have no chariot nor any protection either for your body or for your feet. Ravan has armor around his body, but your body has no armor. How then can you expect to conquer this stalwart hero?" But Sri Ram says, "Listen, friend, the chariot which leads one to victory is of another kind." What is this chariot that Sri Ram is speaking of? In this next Chaupai, Tulsidas writes,
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama.
सौरज धीरज तेहिरट चाका, सौरज धीरज तेहिरट चाका, सत्यशील दृढ़ ध्वज पटाका, सत्यशील दृढ़ ध्वज पटाका।
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama.
बल विवेक दम परहित गोरे, बल विवेक दम परहित गोरे, क्षम कृपा समतार जुबोरे, क्षमा कृपा समतार जुबोरे।
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama, 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Rama.
Sri Ram tells Vibhishan, the wheels of this chariot are valor and fortitude. Valor means bravery, to be fearless. Fortitude means determination, not to give up the fight, no matter how great are the adversities one is facing. In Shangabani, the essence of religion, as taught by our Guru Maharaj, he asks the question, what are real sources of strength? And he gives the answer, patience, endurance, fortitude. Sri Ram is saying that fortitude and valor are the wheels of this chariot. What are the flags and the pennants on this chariot? Truthfulness and virtuous conduct. Truthfulness means not only to speak truth, but to live one's life truthfully. To live one's life in accordance with dharma. And we see Sri Ram himself is an embodiment of truthfulness. Rather than disobey the indirect command of his father, he obeyed it, even though it meant him losing a kingdom, even though it meant that he had to go in exile for 14 years. He didn't mind doing that to uphold dharma, to uphold truthfulness. That is why Ramayana says, Pran jaye par vachan na jaye. Pran jaye, it is better for the life breath to go, it is better for one to die, par vachan na jaye, than to break one's plighted word. So, truthfulness and virtuous conduct are exemplified in the life of Sri Ram. Always righteous, always truthful. These are the flags and the pennants of this chariot. What are the four horses which draw this chariot? Sri Ram says, strength, discretion, self-control, and benevolence. And here again we see these qualities manifested in Sri Ram. Physically, Sri Ram was very strong, and as a warrior he was unmatched. He always made the right decision. His discernment, his discretion was always perfect. He was a master of his senses. He practiced perfect self-control. An example, when he was with Mother Sita in the forest, 𝗂𝗛𝗏, the sister of Ravan, she had the power to change her form at will. She took the form of a very attractive, beautiful young woman, and waited until Sri Ram was all alone and tried to tempt him. But Sri Ram was untouched and unmoved by her overtures. Sri Ram was always a master of the senses. He practiced perfect self-control and benevolence. When Vibhishan went to seek refuge at Sri Ram's feet, the Lord accepted Vibhishan, even though normally one would not do that, to accept the brother of one's enemy. But Sri Ram did that because he said, no one who seeks refuge at his feet will ever be turned away. When the sages of the Dandaka forest requested Sri Ram to protect them from the demons who roamed about the Ashuras, Mother Sita was very worried. She said, Lord, how can you give this promise to the sages? Because these Ashuras, they're very powerful. If you make them your enemy, then they will do great harm. But Sri Ram said, no, Sita, how can I see good people suffer? How can I see the sages, those who strive to know God, how can I see them being hurt in this way? I will give that promise to protect them, to do my best to protect them. And herein we see the benevolence of Sri Ram to the fore. So the four horses of this chariot are strength, discretion, self-control, and benevolence. What is the harness that keeps the horses in position? Forgiveness, compassion, and evenness of mind. And again in Sri Ram we see these qualities to the very fore. Forgiveness. 𝐾𝐾𝐼 and Manthara hurt him so much. They took away the kingdom from him and they banished him to the forest. But in his heart there was no hatred for them. Before he left to go into the forest, he went to take the blessings of 𝐾𝐾𝐼. Never had a word of remorse or a word of insult for Manthara. He said nothing bad about her. In his heart there was forgiveness, compassion. We see that in the episode with Ahilya, that Ahilya was cursed to become stone-like, to be devoid of all emotions. And she did tapasya in that state for many, many years, taking compassion on Ahilya. Sri Ram redeemed her by his divine touch. There are so many examples of Sri Ram's compassion. When Jatayu had sacrificed his life to save Mother Sita, Sri Ram granted him moksha. Evenness of mind. As I said before, Sri Ram was always calm and collected. Rarely you would ever see him agitated or angry. So Sri Ram was a master of all these qualities that he describes as the harness for the horses of the chariot. What is the charioteer? Or who is the charioteer? Sri Ram says the charioteer is worship of God. Last Sunday we did the katha where Sri Ram shows us how to worship God, that he established with his own hand the Shiv Lingam, and he worshiped Lord Shiva, his Lord. He said, there is none dearer to me than Shiva. In his life, we see this quality that he speaks of, worship of God. The shield is dispassion, untouched by sense objects. The throne could not attract Sri Ram to give up his vow of truthfulness. Shubhnakha could not tempt Sri Ram to give up his marriage vows. This passion was manifested in him to such a high degree. And he says this passion is the shield of this chariot. The scimitar is contentment. The scimitar is that weapon like the sword, like a broadsword. Contentment, to be contented with what your hard work brings, not to be jealous of what someone else has. Sri Ram practiced this quality santosh, contentment, in his mind to such a degree that the kingdom was nothing to him. Always contented with what life brought him. Doesn't mean that he didn't make any effort. We'll do our best. We strive our best. But whatever comes, we take it as the prasad of the Lord. We're contented with that. The axe, the battle axe, is charity. What is the bow that a warrior who sits on the chariot, this chariot, has? This bow is the highest wisdom. What is the highest wisdom? To seek God. To seek God in this life, because God is the only constant in a world of change. Because God is our only true refuge. Because God is the only one who can satisfy us totally. Because God is the only one who could give us that bliss which our hearts crave for, which we seek in the things of this world, but which they never really give to us. I had mentioned in my posting on Facebook a story of a healthcare worker who was assigned to terminally ill patients. That is, patients who were about to die as a result of diseases. And that worker said, the greatest sorrow in their hearts was not that they were about to die. Their greatest sorrow was that they hadn't really lived. Even though they were successful in their professions, they were doctors and lawyers, people from all professions who were dying, successful by the standards of this world. Yet, almost without exception, they said they haven't really lived. There was something missing in their lives, but they don't know what. That which is missing in the lives of those people, and perhaps we too might be wondering the same thing. Despite our best efforts, we're not finding satisfaction. Something seems to be missing. What is that something? It is God. So Sri Ram says, the highest wisdom is to seek God, because only God can totally satisfy us. Finding Him, we have everything. We'll never feel that something is missing in our lives. To fight a battle against powerful evil, we need such a formidable chariot. In this next chaupai, Tulsidas writes,
Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama.
Amala achala mana throna samana, samajama niyama sili mukhanana. Amala achala mana throna samana, samajama niyama sili mukhanana.
Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama.
Kavacha abera vipragura puja, Kavacha abera vipragura puja, ehi sama bijaya upayana duja.
Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai
quiver of the warrior who sits in such a chariot of vision is a pure and steady mind. The quiver is that container where the arrows are placed. Sri Ram says that quiver of the warrior who sits on such a chariot as he's describing, the quiver is a pure and steady mind. And we see Sri Ram has such a mind, always pure, always steady. What are his arrows? Quietude, restraint, and religious observances. Quietude, I mentioned before, calmness of mind. It is only when the mind is still can we perceive divine truths. So we all need regular periods of quietude, periods of seclusion to commune with God. When the mind is quiet, spiritual truths are revealed. We must put aside a little time, at least every day, morning and at nights, before we retire, to be quiet and to go within. Sri Ram says quietude is one of the arrows. Restraint. Restraint means the niyamas. What are the niyamas? Avoid impurity in word, thought, and deed. Curb the ever-increasing desires for worldly things, because the more things we have, the more material things we have, the more we worry. When we have little things or a few things, we don't have to worry so much. But the more things we have, the more our problems would increase. So Sri Ram says, curb ever-increasing desires. Be contented with what your hard work has brought you in terms of your material possessions. Tapas. Strive consistently to attain your spiritual goal of God realization. Study of the self. Study both the scriptures and go within to have direct experience of God. And the fifth niyama or restraint is surrender to God. Let God guide our lives, do our best, and leave the rest in His hands. So these are the arrows that Sri Ram speaks of: quietude, restraint, and religious observances that observe all that the scriptures mention that we should observe in our daily lives, like the 𝗔𝗠𝗏𝗏𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏. These are the powerful arrows of the warrior who sits in such a chariot. And Sri Ram says, homage to the twice born, homage to those who are born in spirit, to the sages, homage to one's guru. This is the seat belt that will keep the warrior on the chariot, that he might not fall off during the battle. The seat belt is homage to one's guru and to the saints. Sri Ram says, he who rides in such a chariot of righteousness has no enemy to conquer anywhere. If one has such a chariot, and if one rides in such a chariot, Sri Ram says, one has no enemies to conquer anywhere. Why? Because all enemies have already been conquered. In this concluding doha, 𝗪𝗪𝗓 writes,
महाअजय संसार रिपु जीति सकल सोबीर ओ राम जीति सकै सोबीर जाके असरत होई दृढ़ सुनहु सकामति धीर ओ राम सुनहु सकामति धीर
सियावर रामचंद्र की जय शरणम शंकर हरि ओम जय जय सिया राम सियावर रामचंद्र की जय शरणम शंकर हरि ओम जय जय सिया राम.
Sri Ram says to Vibhishan, listen, my resolute friend. He who owns so powerful a chariot as this is a hero who can vanquish even that mighty and invincible foe, birth and death. The one who rides in such a chariot, O Vibhishan, not only can he conquer any mortal foe, but he can conquer death itself. By that it means that such a one can escape from the Bhavasagar, from the wheel of birth, death, and rebirth. Our Guru Maharaj rode such a chariot in a spiritual way. In his life we see how through sadhana and through manifesting all these qualities that Sri Ram described, that he attained the highest goal of God realization. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa had such a spiritual chariot. Paramahansa Yogananda had such a spiritual chariot. All the great saints who have realized God had such a chariot. One who rides such a chariot as this, O Vibhishan, is a hero who can vanquish even death, the most powerful enemy of all. What a wonderful katha that Sri Ram has given to Vibhishan. What wonderful words. We too must aim to have a chariot like this, because the most powerful enemy of all stares us in the face birth after birth. Every time we're born, that enemy called death takes us away, and then we are reborn and it takes us away again and again. That powerful enemy, to conquer that enemy, we need such a chariot. To conquer this, or to get rid of this Bhavasagar, we need such a chariot. I pray that by the grace of Hanumanji, by the grace of Sri Ram, we are blessed with such a chariot by which we can escape this Bhavasagar. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Swamiji, for your divine and wonderful pravachan on this wonderful Tuesday evening, live from the Americas of Ashram Sangha. Devotees and friends, again, I would like to thank each and every one of you, all our devotees who join us for our Tuesday evening Hanuman Chalisa Path. A special thank you to all of you. Please do remember to join us next Tuesday evening again at 7:30 p.m. for another edition of our Hanuman Chalisa Path, live from the Americas of Ashram Sangha with our Revered Swami Shiveshwanandaji Maharaj. Devotees and friends, we will have one more bhajan. I will ask Bain Marissa to lead us in that bhajan before we conclude with Hanumanji Arti.
जो राम नाम नहीं गाते वो जीते जीत मर जाते जो राम नाम गाते हैं वो परम नाम एक राम
Beautifully done. Thank you very much. Devotees and friends, if you would like to attend our Sunday morning satsang, in-person satsang here at America's Ashram Sangha, please inform us. We are taking attendance by reservation only. So if you would like to attend our Sunday morning satsang starting promptly at 9:15 a.m., again in person, please let us know by calling our number here at the ashram 718-523-7515, or you can message us on social media via Facebook. Devotees and friends, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being a part of our 𝗏𝗏𝗔𝗟𝗑 𝗏𝗏 live from the America's Ashram Sangha with our Revered Swami 𝗂𝗶𝗁𝗏𝗔 𝗣𝗔𝗧𝗛 and Swami 𝗏𝑉swanathānanda-ji. At this time, we will sing in one voice the 𝗏𝗏𝗔𝗟𝗑 Aarti as we conclude.
जय 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 हनुमान, जय बजरंग बली, जय 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 हनुमान, जय बजरंग बली। आरती की जय हनुमान लला की, दुष्ट दलन रघुनाथ दला की। आरती की जय हनुमान, जय 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 हनुमान, जय बजरंग बली, जय 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 जाके बल से गिरिवर कांपे, रोग दोष जाके निकटन जाके। अंजनी पुत्र महाबलदाई, अंजनी पुत्र महाबलदाई। संतन के प्रभु सदा सहाय, आरती की जय हनुमान, जय 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 हनुमान,
जय बजरंग बली,
जय 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 हनुमान,
जय बजरंग बली।
देवी रघुनाथ पताए, लंका जारी सिया सुदिलावे। लंका से पुत्र समुद्र सिकाई, लंका से पुत्र समुद्र सिकाई। जात पवन सुत बारन लाई, आरती की जय हनुमान, जय 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 हनुमान, जय बजरंग बली, जय 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 हनुमान, जय बजरंग बली, जय 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 हनुमान, जय बजरंग बली, जय बजरंग बली, जय बजरंग बली। शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं, पद्मनाभं सुरेशं। विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं, मेघवर्णं शुभांगं। लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिविद्यानगण्यं वन्दे विष्णु भवभयहरणं सर्वलोके कनातनं सर्वलोके कनातनं ॐ त्वमेव माता
शपिता त्वमेव
त्वमेव वन्दो
शस्का त्वमेव
त्वमेव विद्या
द्रविणं त्वमेव
त्वमेव सर्वं
ममिदेव देव
त्वमेव सर्वं
ममिदेव देव
ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः हरि ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम। प्रेम से बोलो महावीर स्वामी की, प्रेम से बोलो श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की, प्रेम से बोलो श्री श्री जगतगुरु महाराज की।